Hey guys, hope everybody's been having a good season so far. Project Diablo 2 Season 12 Suffering. Wanted to make a little video today, just going over my Vengeance Paladin and my Tier 2 Lucian kill. So my goal this season was to build a Vengeance Paladin, go from 0 to hero. Right, I started in normal, leveling Holy Fire, right, and then switched to Vengeance when I was able to. And stayed Vengeance all the way through the process. Up to grinding in hell, focusing on the pits, arcane sanctuary, eldritch and shank. um, I wanted to be able to try to map and kill tier 2 Lucian with ideally the exact same build, and maybe just a few easy cheap gear swaps. And that's exactly what I was able to wind up doing. um, I think it's day 4. I was the 7th paladin to kill Lucian, and in hindsight, could have done it a bit sooner. I kind of over prepared, which is my tendency. Um, but yeah, this character was great to level. Um, the flat damage scaling is so good. If you just pick up all the charms you find along the way, you're bound to find a bunch of good ones. Almost all of my charms are self-found here. They're nothing amazing, right? A combination of life, flat lightning damage, lightning and fire were my focuses for vengeance. Yeah, these are all self-found just along the way. A lot of arcane sanctuary, which is also where I dropped my first 2 high runes that bought me the initial kind of major upgrades um, that I used to approach the Lucion fight. So um, let me give a little overview of the gear first. So this is the gear that I used to kill Lucian. There's some slight changes here just because I've made some upgrades since the initial kill, but I'll talk about what those are. So for the leveling process and the mapping process, as well as Lucian, I think Drax are your best bet, primarily for the life after kill when you're mapping. But it also helps with the ads, obviously, in the Lucian fight. Um, Four Saga lightsaber, not particularly expensive early on, even. It's kind of put whatever facets you can get into it. These are, none of them are perfect facets. I just kind of grabbed what was available for ists or gulls or worldstone shards at the time. I'd say cures is mandatory in some form. Um, this I bought with the increased life slam, planning for Lucian, and then I boxed it for 2. So I've got a 15 IAS mana per kill jewel in there. You need the mana per kill for mapping, and you need the 15 IAS. You need 35% off weapon IAS to have max frames for vengeance. So the other 20 comes from High Lords. So this was good with the high increased life. Obviously, you want a decent life pool for Lucian. I'd say close to 2,000. So High Lords, the initial kill, I had an unslammed High Lords, which worked just fine. Meaning I only had 20% faster hit recovery for the kill, which it didn't matter very much. That gives you like the first break point. One of the first big upgrades I bought once I had the currency was a decent PDR shaft. So I bought this and I corrupted it and boxed it. Didn't come out terrible, right? Almost 2,000 defense is nice. And then I just stuck the P rubies in it, kind of holdover. I was using a 3-socket Griswold's armor with topazes in it for mapping, so it was an easy swap there. Rings, I was using this ring. Strength, Dex, 40 max flat life, some resistances. You don't need to have max res for Lucian. You just need 90 lightning resistance. The other resistances don't really matter at all, which is nice. I went and bought originally it was unslammed, just a 8 max light resist T-Gods to get that light res boosted up. and I had a Raven Frost, even though Kira's can't be frozen. This was originally an unslammed Raven Frost. Gives you some nice AR, right? Which if you're, I was level 89 when I killed Lucian. Like you want to have, even though Conviction gives a lot of minus enemy defense, you want to have some, halfway decent attack rating. But Ravenfrost is still a good ring for Vengeance, right? It's got flat cold, it's got Dex, it's got cold absorb, right? Obviously, this slam has been helpful after the fact. Shield, I think, pretty much mandatory. Dragon Scale, you could get away with Haas, I'm sure, also. This Dragon Scale I bought for 15 Worldstone Shards with the 4 max Lightning Res Slam, and then I boxed it. Failed the box, only got 1 socket, which was disappointing, but didn't really wind up mattering. I put the in this, but then I wound up mapping with just a crappy 2-socket Haas that didn't even have 2 to combat skills, just stuck some diamonds in there. That gets the job done for mapping quite easily. Merman's, I think, is really nice on this build just in general. The faster run walk, right? You zoom around in between using jousts and charge. And it's got the 40 to 80 flat cold damage, which is great with Vengeance. I bought these clean and slammed the 3 max res onto them, which was obviously ideal for fighting Lucian. So this setup gives me 90 light res, right, which you need for tier 2 Lucian, and then I have the 50% PDR, right? You can get away with less than that, right? I think anywhere between 45 and 50 is going to be fine, but I would keep the lightning res at 90, just because if like me you wind up eating those lightning novas, you can get away with it with the 90 light res, but also I think because of lightsaber having the 9% lightning absorb roll, you'll see at the bottom there, it's 5 to 10. So I don't think you need Wisp for this build at all, for fighting Lucian, right? Wisp has the lightning absorb, the plus skill. If you've got some lightning absorb on lightsaber, you're going to be fine. It's also very easy to avoid Lucian's lightning novas. They're telegraphed, right? He jumps into the middle of the arena, and the sort of safe zones become obvious very quickly. You can just kind of charge over to them. Good time to refill your juves. One of the major upgrades I bought along the way here was the Soj plus skills, 1 to 120 lightning damage, right? This is a really good upgrade. I think a lot of Vengeance Paladins will use 2 of these. I just haven't felt the need at the moment, right? This is just working for now many tier 2 Lucian kills and mapping with the switching out still to the 3-socket Griswolds. I also have another shaft stop that I wound up getting. I bought with 3 sockets and 27% PDR. That had 3 topazes in it, but now has 3 facets in it. Floria is currently wearing it right now. So I wear this when I map. You can see my mercenaries, very basic, right? This was bought clean, this was found, this was found, this is crap that was found along the leveling process. Plenty of rares work on this build real well early on, just to shore up res, get your attack speed somewhere. Something like laying of hands and a 15 IAS jewel somewhere get you that 35% you need, just to hit that max breakpoint. It's worth saying, I guess, before lightsaber with this build, the really obvious choice is the Gimmer Shred Flying Axe, which is like 3 Worldstone Shards. It's got a ton of flat elemental damage, all 3 elements. You can just use that. You can buy, I had a Griswold's armor, Griswold's helmet, stuck a bunch of topazes in those early on. That worked really well for my initial magic finding and mapping. So like I said on this build, you know, doing the whole 0 to hero thing, which I like to do every season, went into the pits around level 70, 73, started grinding there, hit up Arcane. This build's really good in Arcane. You got fire immunes and physical immunes, but with the lightning focused Vengeance build, it's very easy to joust and charge between packs there and just focus on the ghosts. So Flat Path Arcane is a really good farm for any character, especially lightning characters. It's easy to find the flat path. It's always going to be the one opposite the portal path, so you can just kind of run and quickly look. But that's where, like I said, I dropped a low and a Sir in there, helped me get some of those early upgrades. Just so I don't forget, before I killed Lucian, I also went out and got an Annie and a torch with what I was able to sort of scrounge together. I was just looking for decent vitality on these, really, was the only thing, and I managed to get good vitality on both. I'm not sure how much I paid for these, not a huge amount, either of them, maybe 1.5. I could have gotten away with much crappier ones than this too. Like I said, over-prepared for this fight without question. So yeah, that's the gear. Let me show you next. I'll give some footage of the fight against Lucian, and I'll talk a little bit about that afterwards. Just about, you know, strategies for that, which are pretty much very simple. And yeah, I hope this is helpful and just of interest to people. I think Vengeance Paladin's a really fun build. Kind of combines. I love melee and PD2. Having the, you know, the melee character, but using the elemental damage is neat because you can map anywhere you want. When you get a little further along, you're just sort of not limited by resistances and immunes at all. You wind up with a lot of elemental pierce. I don't have a ton right now here, but with the other shaft with the facets and stuff in it, it's real good. And Cura's just, you know, Cura's gives you the minus enemy res for all three, which is just a perfect item for this build. So I would say this build is a really strong Lucian killer. I had an easier time killing Lucian on this build than I did with my Maul Bear at the end of last season. I was shocked kind of by how high of damage, single target damage, this character can do, and then just how much it can obliterate the ads in the Lucian fight. You'll see the DPS skyrocket in the kill video here, up to 250, 60,000. Just sort of slapping away at whatever's in front of me, and chaining the ads. I should say, lastly, too, I did make sure I had a CTA before doing the Lucian fight. This season, for once, I managed to roll a decent CTA. I got the 6 of battle orders on the first go. The past couple of seasons, I've wound up with like 2+2s in a row, which has not been great. So, see my life here, 2,300. It was lower because I didn't have these, you know, some of these charms, these higher life charms, I didn't have at the time. Even some of these charms, like the 20 to lifers, I didn't have those when I did the original kill. So it was lower. Very high defense, obviously max block, and, you know, solid attack rating. It was maybe like 7,000 when I killed him initially. The damage here, you know, not bad. On the updated version of this that I'm using now, mapping and fighting Lucian, it's like 3,700 to 15k with more facets in there, which is really nice and smooth. This is a build, just, I guess I may as well say stats wise, right, where you put strength in for gear. You want to try to keep enough strength between the swaps here. so you don't lose the ability to wear the shaft. I upped my shafts, both of them, because I had enough strength, and it's a pretty significant defense difference. This obviously slammed the higher ED indestructible, so it's got higher defense, but the other shaft, the Merc one that I'm now using, slammed 1500, or upped for 1500 defense, I should say, which is really nice. So yeah, you want max block, obviously. You want decent life, a little around 2000. You put enough dex into wear your gear. It shouldn't matter you shouldn't need to put more in for attack rating or with Holy Shield. Get that pretty easily. But obviously you want to make sure you're casting Holy Shield before you are looking at your block chance, getting that to 75. And then just dump Vitality, right? Kind of like everything else. And like I said, I'm level 93 now. I've got some gear upgrades. I've got more life than I did before. I've got slightly more PDR than I did before. And I've got some more damage on my gear. And yeah, so let's take a look at the fight. So just going over the skills here, like I said, I managed to be able to use the same skills, the same build, to kill Lucian as I have been using for mapping. And I respect once after, beating Hell to get out of Holy Fire, and to max Holy Shock, right, which is going to be my primary element, where my facets are going to go. I respec out of there, and then I wound up respecing one more time, just to fiddle with some strength and dex, and to move some points around from Joust, moving forward there. So I still have one respec left of my original 3. If I was more careful, I probably could have had 2 of them left still, just one easy kind of respec. You just got to be careful about strength requirements. You get Drax and stuff that have different amounts of strength on them, different amounts of strength on your T-Gods, right? You don't want to be a couple points off, especially if you're upping your shaft and stuff like I did. I also upped my Kira's because I hate the way Kira's looks as a tiara. I don't love the diadem either, but, I think it's better. Looks like Griffin's. So looking at the skills, right, it's an easy build. You're going to max Vengeance, obviously. You're going to stick a point in Holy Shield. People go back and forth about this. I want a low Joust cooldown for mapping. I think that's mandatory. I know some people don't do it. You can charge around. You can use Mermans with the 60% faster run, and you're quick. And I kept the Merc to the Act 1 Vigor Merc, right? I should be using an Act 2 Defiance with the Stormspire, ideally then Innocence, right, for the static field procs, but it just doesn't make a difference. This build is so good and so effective that I don't really even feel the need for any upgrades at this point, right, to sort of map successfully and repeatedly kill Lucian now as a service. So yeah, so your max Vengeance, put the point in Holy Shield. Obviously, max Conviction. This is the aura you will run all the time. Then I maxed Holy Shock as my primary source of elemental damage. Then I stuck points in Holy Fire as my secondary one. I put enough points in Joust. When I cast Battle Orders, the Joust cooldown is like 1.9 seconds, right? So I feel comfortable with just under 2 seconds. You could max Joust, though. I think I have 16 hard points in here. There were changes this season to Joust, which are worth noting. They made it so that soft points do reduce the Joust cooldown, but the cooldown starts at 4 seconds rather than 3.5. To kind of account for that, this isn't a build that gets a ton of plus skills on the gear necessarily, so you have to kind of get that. That's why people will mix in some combat skillers. Some people will just go all combat skillers, and you get the flat damage on them if you want, you get life on them if you want, and it just doesn't seem to really matter much either way. The build is just so effective. and just sort of exploding everything on the screen with the Vengeance chains, right? The chance to chain, right? They fixed this. This was wild a couple seasons ago. You could get like 95% chance to chain. They nerfed this down a bit. I feel comfortable with casting battle orders and having 70, 72% chance to chain. Works perfectly fine. Yeah, so skills. That's basically what you want to do. It's simple. Paladins are great. Holy Shield, the defense, the chance to block, right? They did make a change to Lucian this season where his attacks ignore 2/3 of your block chance, block rate. I'm sorry, one of the two, something along those lines. I was worried about that. I thought maybe I should dump more points into Holy Shield, and it just turned out to make no difference at all. So yeah, you max your Vengeance, you max your Conviction, you max your primary element, you dump into your secondary element, get where you feel comfortable with Joust, and then you can start sticking points into your third element for damage. You could just max Joust all the way and get this down even further if that's your preference. So yeah, those are the skills. So you can see in that video that that was not the initial kill, right? I had the aura already. I had meant to record a video like this, and then I got caught up getting excited about going in for that first kill and didn't do it. So this was the second kill that I recorded here. Went about the same as the first one did, honestly. The gear was identical. But as you can see in the video, right, this is not particularly high-level gameplay here, right? The fight mechanics are pretty simple. Lucian does physical damage and lightning damage, right? So the boss spawns, I joust onto him, damage. He goes to the center and he casts that lightning nova, which does do a tremendous amount of damage and is why you need the 90 light res. It will, it can one-shot you if you have less life, or if your res is not right. But you can also tank it like I do, like an idiot, with the lightning absorb from lightsaber. Kind of allows it with like the 2,000 plus health. You can make it work. I don't recommend it. It's very easy to just avoid that, right? It's super telegraphed. Once he jumps to the middle, you see the cast start. You just kind of move to the safe zone. It's a great moment to refresh the pots if you need to on your belt. And yeah, so then in the phases that follow, he opens up those veiled portals, and ads will spawn from those portals. you want to destroy those portals as quickly as possible so you don't get overwhelmed by ads when he pops back out. So I have the high joust cooldown, or sorry, the low joust cooldown. So it's very easy to just joust between portals, slap them down. The ads go down with the chain from Vengeance. Lucion reappears, joust back onto him, go to town. I realized in this fight, like I said, was the second one, that I was just doing so much damage and chaining so much that even if the portals aren't down when Lucion reappears, I can just go back on the boss and go back to slapping him rather than try to focus down the portals and drag the fight out. You can see me getting what looks like overwhelmed by ads at times, right? And on my Maul Bear last season, that would have killed me probably. I had a 5 frame per second axe, not 4, when I killed him last season, which was dumb. But that amount of ads probably would have overwhelmed me on the Maul Bear. I would have just had to play better. I think Vengeance really allows you to play kind of sloppily, which is fine, right? So yeah, you see me eat the lightning a few times. You can time the pot easily. You see my health drop. You see me pot immediately when I'm getting hit with that second wave he sends out in particular. So yeah, you hop right back on the boss. You whack away at him. He disappears again. The portals come back up. Joust onto the portals. Kill as many of the portals as you can, the ads coming out of the portals as you can. Boss reappears, back on the boss, does the novas, avoid the novas if you can. But yeah, I would recommend, if you're around a kind of gear life situation as me, but also less. You don't need, like I said, you don't need as much as I had here, damage wise and gear wise. You can kind of ignore the portals once he reappears and just focus on him, whack around him a little bit, hit the ads, just chain. I think I was 280,000 DPS, right? It was going up to during that fight, so you can see them just getting decimated going through there. And yeah, so I, this has been long and rambling. This is the first YouTube video I've ever made, so excuse my umming and pausing and general rambling through this. But I wanted to share this because I just think it's a really fun build. Like I said, if you enjoy melee, but you want to do some elemental damage, you like paladins, you like the joust from pack to pack, blow up the screen, right? Fans of sacrifice are going to enjoy this too. The gear really isn't super expensive to get running at all, and to get into what you would consider kind of end game farming, right? This build absolutely rips through tier 1, 2, and 3 maps. Could it be faster in tier 3s? Yeah, with more facets, right? That's the major thing that I think the upgrade would be that you'd want to focus on, just getting more facets going, and getting your lightning pierce higher, right? Another Soj here would be good. Could obviously have much better slams on this stuff than I do here. And yeah, I'll do a little brief, just pop into a map quickly just to show you how fast things go down. I didn't roll a map particularly for this, so let's just pick something random here. Horizons has been fun. Horizons has ghosts, right, which is really nice. The ghost rune drops. But this is what it looks like, the gameplay for this here. Right, you're just kind of melting things, jousting, and the screen just disappears largely, right? You want really dense maps for this, ideally. The higher the Vengeance chain chance, the better. I'm just jumping around here, skipping packs and stuff. Yeah, I think there's increased life on this map. monster life. So this is taking a little bit longer than maybe it should. Getting almost frozen here. But yeah, you know, this is just a taste, right? If you played Sacrifice, if you played these kinds of builds, you'll recognize the play style, right? Joust, charge, attack, joust, charge, attack, between packs quickly. You're going to easily find yourself doing, you know, 6, 7, 8 minute tier 1, tier 2 maps. You can get that lower easily. Again, I like some more facets. I'm just not super concerned with kind of intense min-maxing at a certain point. I mean, I'll focus on it now, but you can see the map boss goes down pretty easily here. I'm not potting or anything. And yeah, really fun to play, rewarding play style, you know, engaging, but also if you want to just kind of hold right click down and press joust occasionally, it's easy to do, and really fun. So yeah, hope you guys might enjoy this, find it useful. Me just talking through this. I highly recommend Vengeance Paladin to anybody who's looking for a fun kind of 0 to hero build. You want to stick with the same thing from start to finish, it's great. The gear swaps are super simple for Lucion, couple of pieces on, no changes to the skills, right? You can easily just go in and kill him. At this point, I'm not even putting, you know, I'll put pots in my inventory, but it's not necessary, right? I'm never using more than like maybe 10 pots in a fight, and just being safe, being careful there for some of them, right? May as well not die. Yeah, thanks guys. Good luck to everybody with season 12. Hope everybody has fun with it. Got lots more time to go. Obligatory thanks to the devs for this incredible mod.